What's up everyone, and welcome back to another video. In my previous videos, I've talked about the different types of consulting, why it's a great profession, and the exit options available. So today, I want to talk about something that some of you guys have asked me personally, and that's the consulting timeline process. In many professions and industries, you can apply all year, or the recruiting is on a rolling basis. For instance, if you're studying computer science or engineering, most companies have openings and availabilities regularly. However, that's not usually the case when it comes to consulting. Depending on the firm, the time and method they recruit varies, so it's important to be aware and prepared for their full-time and internship process. So today, I'll be spreading out my video into 3 segments. I'll be first talking about the networking and process that occurs before you send out your applications. Next, I'll go into the application process, timelines, and things like that, as well as the interview timeline and when to get started for your case prep. These 3 sections will be geared more towards the MBB as well as Big 4 firms, since they tend to be the most commonly applied to. But they can also relate to other consulting firms too. So with that being said, let's just get straight into it. The first and my favorite thing to do when it comes to any profession is to network. When it comes to networking, you should be doing this 24/7, 365. Just kidding. Kinda though. There isn't an exact timeline or period you want to reach out, so you want to be networking and regularly reaching out to professionals. There isn't a set time to do so, so even after this video, start or continue your networking endeavors. If you don't know where to start, that's no problem as well. Be sure to check out my networking series where I talk about how and where you can network on different platforms, what to say, and how to be successful in this process. So after this video, be sure to check out my other videos on this channel or website ryanrafi.com to learn more. Networking is a great way to understand more about what it is you're interested in, as well as get your foot in the door. Especially since recruitment is becoming more challenging, knowing multiple people at that firm can be a big help. Through a simple conversation, they can share their experiences to see if that's what you are looking for. They can also provide interview guidance and support, as well as put you in touch with other people to just keep expanding your network altogether. Especially after developing a stronger relationship, they may even be willing to send in an internal referral, which might even help out your chances and get that first round interview. I highly emphasize to everyone everywhere to start networking because, as I've mentioned in my networking series, you've got to network to get work. Like I mentioned earlier though, there is no set time to be reaching out to other people. Obviously, both you and them are going to be having priorities like midterms and exams on your end and project deadlines on theirs. So be respectful and understanding if they are unavailable. That's why you should always reach out to more than one person at each firm, because it'll increase your chances of hearing back. To learn more about what you should say when reaching out, be sure to visit my website ryanrafi.com to view a template that I used while networking. It helped me set up over 100 informational interviews and build a great consulting network. But also, if you'd like help when it comes to setting up your first informational interview, I'll personally be more than happy to be that first person you get started with. So after networking comes the application process. Before we dive into this, I'd like to mention that this section of the video talks about entry-level recruitment in America. Unfortunately, I'm not experienced enough, nor do I want to share incorrect recruitment advice about international firms or for those people who are pivoting mid-career within consulting. Most firms, however, tend to have a similar recruitment process for prospective interns and full-time hires though. The MBB firms open their application process as early as late July to mid-August, so it's crucial to check their websites consistently and make sure that you are within their loop. For the MBB, I'd advise spending your summer building your connections with these people at these firms so you can mention something specific when time comes to send in your cover letter, resume, as well as during your interview altogether. That way, it shows recruiters that you've done your due diligence and are genuinely interested in their firm, as opposed to just frenzy applying everywhere. I personally don't believe in sending out tons of applications in hopes of hearing back one day. Rather, I pick and choose which companies I'd want to work for, do my research, and then apply. If you properly network, meet and exceed the qualifications based on your resume and cover letter, then you should generally be in good shape. But if you'd like more advice on how to write a good cover letter or resume, I'll be sure to link videos on both of those in my bio below. Keep in mind, however, that not all firms require a cover letter, but it can complement your application if it is done correctly. Usually the MBB end their application process around late August to early September, and begin the interview process then for their candidates. Also, a bonus tip to keep in mind is the duration in which companies are recruiting. If they keep the recruitment process pretty low-key and only for a week or two, that means they're not looking to hire many applicants. Whereas if they promote recruitment and have a long application submission period, they're likely to be hiring more candidates. This is a very general rule of thumb, but something you should be considering if you are interested. I've seen this happen during my recruitment process, as well as information I've received from other consultants going through their recruitment. Shifting over to the Big Four now, their recruitment cycle usually begins early September and goes either until the end of September or early October. They tend to have a larger period of accepting applications rather than the MBB. Remember that the Big Four is bigger than the top 3, so they tend to hire more people depending on their different practices like tax, audit, or consulting. When it comes to cover letters, it's usually dependent on where you're applying within that firm. Is it their data and analytics section or strategy and operations? If you're ever uncertain about what they're looking for in their application, check your school's job portal as well as the company's hiring page. It usually tends to shed more light on what they are looking for within their application. If there is an inconsistency, however, which has happened a couple times in my experience, it's fine to reach out to the recruiter in person or via email just to double check. Recruiters are a great person to build a relationship with. They represent that school and company and sometimes serve as the gatekeeper between the application submission and interview process. Reaching out to a recruiter helps you build a network as well as become more than just a name when they're going over your resume. I remember reaching out to recruiters during my early days of consulting and setting up informational interviews with them. I didn't know where to start, so I said, why not start with the recruiter? We had great conversations, and at the end, some of them put me in touch with several recent graduates who could even help me out more. That way, I was able to build momentum and meet new people. Moving into the third segment of this video is the interview process. For the MBB, their interview process begins in September and involves between 2 to 4 rounds of interviews. Their interviews are generally broken down into the traditional behavioral or fit interview, as well as the daunting case interview. The case interviews can sometimes be more quantitative heavy, so be sure to prepare in order to do well. For the Big Four, their interview process starts toward the end of September to early October and is usually 2 rounds. Your first round tends to be a mix of both case and behavioral, whereas your final round tends to be usually just a case interview. The case interview for them, however, is more qualitative and less number-oriented, but be sure to prepare nonetheless. Again, all of this depends on the department within the company you are applying to, so be sure to do your research to become well prepared. For Tier 2 and boutique consulting firms, they tend to have a slightly different application process. Some begin their recruitment in early September, some are in October, and some are even in April. So be sure to check their website's online portal to not miss out. Also, comment below if you're interested in learning more about a certain firm or the recruitment timeline, and I can make another video on that. So as a recap, the MBB tend to begin accepting applications as early as late July to mid-August and finish relatively soon, like late August to early September max. The Big Four start in early September and go until late September or early October. MBBs have anywhere between 2 to 4 rounds of interviews, whereas the Big Four usually have 2 rounds. The Tier 2 and boutiques have a slightly different recruitment cycle depending on that firm, so be sure to check out their websites, and they usually do have between 2 to 3 rounds of interviews scheduled as well. With all that being said, be sure to let me know in the comments below if you found this video helpful. Also, if you're interested in learning more about the recruitment process or want me to review your resume or cover letter, be sure to check out my website, ryanrafi.com, to learn more. As always, thanks. Until next time.